Welcome to a QuickBooks Connect demo for contingency projects. I'm going to walk through a couple of features and jump right into a live demo. So overall, this integration is a single integration that works for both contingency and time and billing firms. The legal teams work 100% in Filevine. And then the folks that do accounting, they work in QuickBooks Online, and everything accurately shows up in Filevine. No more double entry, no wondering if you got all your case costs or getting to settlement and needing to kind of run that settlement sheet. As a finance person, you can see everything right inside Filevine. So quick list of features. We sync Filevine projects as QuickBooks customers. So that's the foundation. Advanced case costs, or whatever you might be calling it. The balance appears in Filevine. The transaction details are there. It's all pushed from QuickBooks directly to Filevine. You can see your trust accounting, overall balance, as well as the detailed transactions that are behind that balance. And then you can also use it to pay bills. So we have a check request portal, really whatever process you like. We'll walk through that. So if you have an existing accounts payable process or vendor or integration with QuickBooks, you can continue to use that. Or we can give you an option to create checks directly inside Filevine. So let's get to the live demo. That's where the fun happens. So first thing on Filevine, when you have your Filevine projects, there's that unique project ID. And in QuickBooks, you go to sales, clients, and you can see your list of clients. All of those clients are your Filevine projects. You can see the same, if I go to James Bond, there's the Filevine ID. So we automatically create the clients for you in QuickBooks when you enter a particular phase. We can ignore phases that you don't need to create that client, and then we can create it automatically for you. Secondly, when you archive the project in Filevine, we mark it as inactive in QuickBooks. Nothing's ever deleted in QuickBooks. It's just a flag that you can go through and mark something as inactive, and then you can no longer assign new costs. It still shows up in reporting. But that's really the foundation, is to have those synced. Once that connection's made, this is just a number in the display name, but all your print on check and everything else appears as normal. You can even rename it if you like, remove that. You can change your Filevine project name. Nothing breaks. It's not based on the actual name here. It's based on a secure connection on the back end. So that's the first thing that I wanted to point out. And because we have that connection, when you have case costs that hit your bank feed or credit card or write checks in QuickBooks, those appear automatically in Filevine. You'll notice I don't have an expense section. You're not manually having to add expenses where there's room to forget, to do it inaccurately, to put on the wrong case. All kinds of things like that might happen. But instead, you can go down to, for example, a settlements section. There's a lot on the screen that isn't relevant for our demo, but I'll scroll down. And down here, you'll see your QuickBooks case costs. So these come over from QuickBooks. They're updated every day, and you can actually click to update in the middle of the day if you like. We only do an update if there's an update in QuickBooks. So we know that automatically. And then here's where you'll see the transaction details. So you click that link, and nobody had to go to QuickBooks, and you have a list of all the transactions in a print-ready format, kind of ready to attach to your settlement statement that show you where that $2,000 and $20 came from. So that's where the magic happens there. Then if you have any case costs that are not in QuickBooks, you can add those here and then use a calculation field to pull that up. And there's just a comment on this layout in case this layout's new to you. This is real common for what we do for a lot of folks. You can put in your fee agreement if there's co-counsel or not. We hide it if there isn't. Maybe a prior attorney referred it in and they had some costs they want to incur. And then down here, you can pick the number of settlements in case you have more than one. And then after that, you build your settlement statement, which is a nice fusion. The great part about this layout is all of the math flows right into the settlement statement. You can have a version of it as well for your accounting to know, here's how to pay the liens and the medical expenses. Here's any co-counsel fees, any breakdown for attorney distributions, things like that. And then at the end, we're a fan of checkboxes to make sure you've done everything you need to do before you archive the case. So small segue, but it gives you an idea of how the integration works inside of a contingency case. And then another feature to show you is trust accounting, and all these features are optional, so you can turn this on if you like. So this will show you the trust balance for James Bond. Again, you can click and get to the transaction detail. So I can click on that, pull it down, pulls up, and then here is the transaction detail. It's just an insurance settlement payment. But as you do your work in that settlement phase, that will come down to zero. You can run a report in Filevine and see, what are your trust balances per client, and you don't have to worry because those are the trust balances in your accounting package. So it kind of relieves a lot of the headaches of trying to make sure things are up to date by pulling the data directly from there. And then again, you can see the date and timestamp update during the day. This is an optional, feature where if you wanted to, have copies of the check inside Filevine, you can. It's not typically recommended, but it's an option for folks that are used to having that available in Filevine. And then last but not least, how do you get your case costs paid? So there's lots of great options we can show you that we're not going to do right now if you're using credit cards to kind of automate that process. But for the ones when you need a check request, we'll go ahead and create one right here. I'm going to say 7:15, the time for me right now. I'm going to make that payable to the county courthouse. And what's nice about this, it says vendor QB here. That tells you that that is a vendor in QuickBooks. So with 100% certainty that is the correct vendor to send this to. It already exists in QuickBooks. You won't have any issues with duplicate vendors being created. We sync those on the back end for you. If you want this memo, you could do, court fees, description if you like. Court fees for James Bond, 1234, case number. Probably should get a 007 in there. Perfect. And I'm a fan of attaching any of your invoices directly here in Filevine. And by doing that, we actually push that invoice right into QuickBooks. So your source of truth for any kind of audit purposes or financial statements has all the backup information. So real quick, you do that, you click create, and that is now created. If we go into expenses, we can see court fees for James Bond. You can see that happened instantaneously. All the data is there, including the attachment for that vendor. So that's a check ready to be printed. If you were to go ahead and print that check, it would update. I'm going to hit refresh here in Filevine, go back into that. You'll see the status is created. This is just information we're pushing back to give you that certainty of being able to see that that was created. And then as soon as you print it, it'll switch to printed and it'll put the check number there as well. So that's just a way to save time if you want to do check requests. Keep in mind though, all those checks, all those amounts automatically show up in the settlement section or wherever you want to put your QuickBooks case cost fields, and that expense will be part of your transaction detail as well. So that's great. Thanks for watching, and looking forward to working with you.